Okay, good morning, everybody. I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Innu Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation and Treaty 3 territory. My name is Neil Harden. I'm chairing today's panel. With me are Michelle Duncan and Diane Knight. The assessor today is Matthew Harling, and the administrative personnel is Phoebe Graywood. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application and will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony. Anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the board. The board is appointed annually by council and is independent of it in the city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing. The issues are written in order that would be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions the applicant may have, then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We'll be hearing items 1, 3, 4, 5, and 8 to 10 on our docket today. Ms. Graywood, please affirm the assessor's and applicant's testimony.
Mr. Harling, please state your full name.
Matthew Harling?
Do you affirm the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And Mr. Navarro, please state your full name.
Marcelo Navarro.
Do you affirm the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, so the first property on today's agenda is 1664 Seal Avenue. So, Mr. Harling, you can begin with the basic information and understand we have a non-co-op requested.
Correct. Okay, thank you, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The file number is 24-3073. The roll number is 03071553-100. The address is 1664 Seal Avenue, and the owner is CWS Logistics Limited. The 2025 roll year, based on a reference date of April 1st, 2023, has an assessed value of $11,786,000. Okay, as indicated, there is an issue of non-cooperation for this property, so I will go into that.
Yep, please do.
Yeah, so if we turn to page 2 of my brief, just looking at the request for information, you see that we have not received a mailer, the 22 or 2023 mailer. We actually have not received a mailer for this property since 2011, so it's been a number of years. If we turn to page 16 of my brief, you'll see this is the certified mailer that we had sent out. So you can see here the tracking number here. It was sent on June 9th, 2023. Blank mailer continues on pages 17 to 19. Turn to page 20. This is the signature or the notice of delivery for the property. And then on page 21 of my brief, this is the tracking number indicating that it was signed for on June 12th, 2023. And that being said, I believe that would conclude our position on the non-compliance. Thank you.
Okay, questions, Mr. Navarro?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Ms. Duncan, any questions?
No questions.
Ms. Knight?
No, sir.
Yeah, I note that the signatory name is a VIP.
Yeah, you know what? I've noticed that exactly. I'm not sure the reasonings for that or not, but that's what we were provided, I guess. So yeah, so
Okay, Mr. Navarro, your turn now on the non-co-op.
Well, if you would turn to page 24, actually, on the assessor's brief, you note that the application actually contains the same address with the signature of the person. So I in most cases, I hesitate on this, but in this case, I don't think we have an angle to defend this position.
Okay. All right, I guess then the board will have to deliberate on this. So if we can take a brief pause and we'll deliberate on this. Okay, welcome back. The board has deliberated and we will grant the non-co-op. So Mr. Navarro, then you can begin on value.
Very good. On page 2, you can see that this is CWS Logistics Limited. If you turn to pages 6 and 7, you can see the general location. Oh, I didn't realize this is actually right across the street from my house. So on page 9, you can see a property description. So this property was built in several stages. As you can see in the description, the original section was built in 1957. There's another section in 1966, another in 75, 1990, and again in 2003. Oh, and in 2005 as well. So this property has been put together over time. It's quite large. Its total area is 146,833. On page 13, you can see the rent comparisons that we've used and the rent that we've applied. We've applied a total rent of $5.25 rental rate, an annual amount of $770,873. And if you turn to page 20, you can see the parameters that we also used. 4.50 vacancy, $4 shortfall, 3% for non-recoverables. That's a total allowance of $48,515, a net operating income of $687,668, and we've applied a 7% cap rate to this, coming up with a total value of $9,823,836, or $9,824,000. Beyond that, we've just included some additional property-specific information, and I'm open for questions.
Hey, questions, Mr. Harling?
After going through this, I think I have no questions at the moment. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Duncan, questions?
Yeah, you don't have access to any I&Es either.
No, I believe Mr. Harling's correct. I don't think there's been one submitted since 2011.
Okay.
And there wouldn't necessarily be any reasons other than capturing the expenses because this is an owner-occupied property.
Okay, thank you. No other question.
Hey, Ms. Knight?
No, sir.
Okay, so Mr. Harling, you can begin on value then.
Thanks, Chairman. So as indicated, I'll start on page 1 of my brief under the prop description, as I've already introduced the property here. So if we look at the building here, so we can see here, as Mr. Navarro indicated, it was built in stages. So we have actual and effective year builds ranging from 1957 to 2005. We have an overall effective year built of 1980. We have construction classes, metal frame walls, is zone frame 2 manufacturing general. We have a land area of 351,538 square feet with a plan area of 137,086, which gives us a land to plan area of 2.56. And we have a total leasable area of 146,833. We turn to page 2 of my brief. We've already seen the request for information we've already spoken to. And the last time the property sold was in September 11th, 2012, as you can see. So page 3 of my brief, we kind of established location. So this is just off of on Seal Avenue, just adjacent to it would be Waverly Street. Page 4 is just another photo, an aerial photo. Page 5 of my brief is just the parcel view of the subject. Page 6, just some further photos of the parcel outline, and then at the bottom of page 6, just a photo of the building. Page 7, just some further photos just from different angles of the building, just to show in its entirety here, as you can see. Page 8, just a further photo. And then page 9, this is a photo from the rear of the subject on Otter Street. And then pages 10, these are some street view photos facing the front of the building on page 10. And then page 11, this is some photos from the rear of the property. So you can see the bottom and then at the top as well on Seal Avenue. And then this last on page 12, this is just another photo from the rear of the subject. Okay, if we turn to page 13, my brief, we classify this as a storage warehouse. We have a total leasable area of 146,833 square feet. We're applying a model rent of $6.26 a square foot, which gives us a potential rent of $919,175. We're allowing 4.5% for vacancy, which then gives us effective gross income of $877,812. Allowing 3% for expenses, as well as $4 a square foot shortfall, which then gives us an overall net operating income of $825,048. And then lastly, we're applying 7% capitalization rate, which gives us the estimated value of $11,786,000. Turn to page 14, my brief. You can see my rent comparables here. So we have comparables in Redwood, Regent, Bagan, Hutchings, Haggard, Burmack, and King Edward Street. So these, again, this is a larger property, so I had to expand the comparable search a bit. These lease start dates range from November 15, 2015 to June 2022. Lease terms range from 1 to 20 years. Leasable areas range from 111,763 square feet to 205,297 square feet. Wall heights range from 15 to 38 feet. Effective roof belts range from 1966 to 2022, and the rents in place range from $5.95 a square foot to $9.55. So I believe the rent would be supported by the comparables. Page 15, my brief is just some municipal assessment actors information. I forgot to put our cap rate information page in here, but you know, I don't think there's a discrepancy in our cap rates that we're applying as well as the appellants, so I'm not going to really go into that much. Pages 16 through 21, we already spoke to. These are the non-compliance documents. Page 22, this is just a site plan. I was able to find and file the subjects just to get an idea of the breakdown of the building, as you can see here, page 22. And then page 23, this is more of a floor plan, just showing the space. So it's predominantly used for warehouse space, and there are some storage spaces and some, you know, office space and such as that, but predominantly warehouse spaces, you can see in page 23. And then lastly, on page 24 is just the application form. That being said, that concludes our presentation, and I'm open for questions. Thank you.
Any questions, Mr. Navarro?
The only question I have is really, this is all model driven, correct?
This
No
is
adjustments.
No adjustments, correct. All model derived.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Knight,
I have no questions. Thank you.
Ms. Duncan.
No questions, thank you.
Okay, this is, I guess, a little unusual. It's only a rental rate issue. Perhaps on your comparables, can you give us any ideas? Oh, you do have the years built on your comparables.
Yeah, here it goes, yeah. And the wall heights and everything else, yeah.
Wall heights, yeah. Okay, this is a unique one, but usually we're arguing over cap rate or something.
Well, fair enough. Yeah, I guess this is a few times we can agree to it, right?
Yep. Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to my end of town, closer to my house than Mr. Navarro's house, on 1280 Inkster. So on 1280 Inkster, Mr. Harling, you can begin.
Mr. Chairman. The file number is 24-2312. The roll number is 14063630100. The address is 1280 Inkster Boulevard, and the owner is Industrial Rubber Supply 1995 Ltd. The 2025 roll year based on reference date of April 1st, 2023 is assessed value at $2,532,000. We'll go below on page 1 of my brief. We'll say this is a one-story building. We classify it as industrial light manufacturing. We have an actual year built of 1960 with an effective year built of 1973. The wall heights are 19 feet. Construction class is wood or steel frame exterior walls, and is zoned for M2 manufacturing general. We have a land area of 90,272 square feet with a plan area of 24,939, which gives us a land to plan area of 3.62. And we have a total leasable area of 24,939 square feet. If we turn to page 2 of my brief, we'll see the request for income information has been received. There are no recent sales, and we don't have any leases currently in our system at the moment. Okay, so turn to page 3 of my brief. As I indicated, this is on Inkster Boulevard. So you can kind of see an overview. This would be kind of in the Inkster industrial area, if you could call it. So here's just an overview of where it's situated in the area itself. Turn to page 4 of my brief. This is just a further photo, just an aerial view photo, just to see where the subject's located. The little red dot, as you can see here, again, fronting Inkster Boulevard and the side street would be Fife Street. Page 5 of my brief is just the parcel outline, as you can see here, facing again Inkster and Fife. Page 6 of my brief is just a closer zoomed up aerial view of the subject, just to show the property in its entirety, how it's situated on the parcel. Page 7 of my brief, this is a front for the front of the building facing Inkster Boulevard, as you can see here on the corner, it's at Fife. So this is another portion of the building on the, I believe, east side of the building here on page 8. Page 9, this is a rear photo of the subject property here. And page 10, this is just another photo from the subject property facing Fife Street, just on the side of the building. Okay, pages 10 or 11, this is just a street view photo of the front of the building facing Inkster. On page 11 at the bottom here, this is on Fife Avenue facing the side of the building. And then page 12 of my brief is just the street view image of the subject from the rear of the building. So there's some photos of the subject. If we turn to page 13 of my brief, you'll see we're classifying this as a manufacturing warehouse light. As I indicated, we have a 24,939 square feet of leasable area. We're applying a model rent of $6.82 a square foot, which gives us a potential rent of $170,084, allowing 3.5% for vacancy, which gives us an effective gross income of $164,131. We're allowing 3% for expenses, as well as $4 a square foot of shortfall, which then gives us overall net operating income of $155,716. And then lastly, we're applying a capitalization rate of 6.15%, which gives us the estimated value of $2,532,000. Page 14 in my brief, my rent comparables. So you can see some of the locations. We have Watt Road, Sherwin, Burroughs, Church, Bunting, and Inkster. So majority of the comparables would be in the same subject region as the subject, the same market region. Comparables, lease start dates range from August 2020 to March 2022. Lease terms range from 1 to 10 years. Areas range from 17,360 square feet to 42,480. Wall heights range from 16 to 26 feet. Effective rear belts range from 1964 to 1979. And the rents in place range from $6.24 to $9.20. So I believe our model rent is, falls within the range of the comparables. Turn to page 15 of my brief under cap rate information. Under industrial, we've again applied a cap rate of 6.15%. So looking at our 28th percentile, this cap rate would fall within the range we apply for properties in this of the 28th percentile. And looking at some of the outside sources, I believe it would be also further supported by the outside sources. And then page 16 of my brief, just a municipal assessment accuracy of information. Page 17 of my brief, this is the income expense mailer that they have provided. So this is on page 17, 18, and 19, 20. And I guess it looks like I included the previous mailer as well for 2021. So that's on pages 22 through 25. So yeah, obviously they're consistent with their income and providing income and all the information. Page 26 of my brief, this is just a site plan that was up the final file. So you can see here just the building, some of the sections. Again, this is a bit older, as you can see, but this is just a site plan of the building. You can see at Fife Street at the bottom here. And page 27 is further floor plan of the building, as you can see here, as it was built in different stages. So you can see when there was different stages built and just some of the different uses of the different portions of the building. So that being said, that would conclude our presentation, and I am open for questions. Thank you.
Any questions, Mr. Navarro?
Yeah. Yes. Regarding the cap rate, I noticed that this one has an effective age of 1973, and not to bring too much light into the previous one, but that one had an effective age, I believe, starting in 1957 to 2005. The model went higher on the previous one. Is that maybe size? Can you maybe give some explanation as to why possibly the model is predicting a lower cap rate on this one?
Yeah, you know what you kind of indicate, I think one of the primary factors would be size. I mean, obviously this building's 24,000 square feet, whereas the previous one was like 146, so it's quite 5 or 6 times the size. So yeah, that would be, I think I would believe that would be the primary factor that would be driving the lower cap rate, just in terms of risk factor, obviously. So but yes, I'm mindful of the ages, but yeah, in this case, I believe size would be the primary factor, though. Yeah.
Okay. Now, and I understand that this is a modeled cap rate, but if you had looked at this property specifically, would you have put that cap rate in there?
Well, you know what? I haven't inspected the property, so I can't speak to the specific conditions. So I guess I can't really make a comment per se. So.
Okay. Okay, that's fair enough. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Duncan, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Ms. Knight?
No, sir.
Okay, the question I have is the fact that this is looks like a piecemeal type construction, varying wall heights, varying ages. Would that affect the cap rate?
Like I said, yeah, I don't think it's just one factor that we take. I mean, as I indicated though, like if we're just speaking to, like, for example, the previous one, I know it's a completely different area and building, but yeah, it would be a number of factors, right? Wall height, age of the building, construction different, if it was constructed in different, timelines. So those would be factors. Yes, I wouldn't dispute that would, could affect the cap rate. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. So, Mr. Navarro, then you can begin your presentation.
Okay. We're looking at 1280 Inkster Boulevard. On page 2, we have our summary. This is Industrial Rubber Supply Limited. On page 6, you can see the pictures and general location of the property. And on page 12, you can see our market comparisons and the rent that we've applied. We've applied a $650 rental rate, creating a market income of $162,104. Our comparisons, we have 7, ranging from November 2015 to December 2025, all the way to March 22nd, 2022, and going right to June 2029. Varying wall heights from 11 to 24 feet, all the way to 24 feet. Similar land to building ratios, M2 zoning, and the ages vary. Actually, they're pretty tight in this case. Most of them are mid 1970s vintage. In terms of the parameters, you can turn to page 19, and you can see 24,939 square feet, $6.50 rental rate, 162,104 is the market income, $3.50 vacancy, effective market income of $156,430, an expense allowance of $8,184, net operating income of $148,246, and we've applied a 7% cap rate to this. The end value is $2,117,793, or $2,118,000 rounded. In the appendix, you can see some of the information that we've included on on the other property as well, and the income and expenses that were supplied by the owner. And that is my presentation. I'm open for questions.
Okay, questions, Mr. Harling?
Just one quick question, just to run the cap rate. So yeah, I know you indicate 7%. I just noticed on page 16 of your brief, you have the cap rate, some sample cap rates you've shown here. I guess the two cap rates I noticed here, they say they're in Inkster Industrial, the one on Burroughs and Hutchings. So these cap rates are roughly 6.57 and 6.73. I can see how the ages are, but one of them is 1992 and one ranges from 1977 to 2005. They're obviously pretty similar size too. So with the reason you put a 7% cap on, would it be due to the fact of it's slightly older than these particular ones, or was there any weight put on those cap rates at all, or no? Or
I think we use them as examples of cap rates that have been calculated for sales. I wouldn't necessarily translate them to the subject. However, I will note that most cap rates in the Inkster Industrial Park area, for the most part, would fall into that investment grade B category of 650 to 750 that we have on page 17. And that would be consistent with the comparisons that we have there. There are some newer buildings in that area, and especially if they are multi-tenanted, we probably would drop them into the first category, the investment grade B or investment grade A category. But in this case, we're talking about a single occupant building. That in itself carries more risk, to begin with. So I would say that we've placed it right in the middle of our range for April 1, 2023. That's my explanation.
okay, that's the question. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Duncan, questions?
No, no questions. Thank you.
Ms. Knight?
No, sir.
Okay, question, I guess maybe for both of you. Would it matter in the cap rate, given that this is more of an industrial application rather than a warehousing application, as the previous one was, Mr. Navarro?
Yeah, I would say that there's probably a higher risk to the manufacturing sector simply because it's more subject to the whims of the marketplace in terms of what's happening with trade, because that's what most manufacturing warehouses tend to do. Whereas a storage warehouse is primarily linked to the retail sector. That would include storage warehouses and logistics warehouses. Those have a different risk profile, and those tend to be, more often than not, they're in that Class A or investment grade A category, especially if they're multi-tenanted. But this one, yeah, anytime I think you have a more manufacturing based location, I think there is a higher risk to it.
Okay, Mr. Harlan, your take on that?
You know what? I mean, obviously, you're right. Manufacturing, I can imagine. I just agree there would be some other factors that would maybe make it a bit more potentially risk adverse than particularly storage. But yeah, so I mean, I don't dispute some of those comments. So
Okay, thank you for that then. We'll move on to, just up the street there to 1266 Fife. And again, I understand there's non-co-op, so if you can, Mr. Harlan, give us the basic information, then head into the non-co-op.
Sherman. So the file number is 24-2922. The roll number is 14063607100. The address is 1266 Fife Street, and the owner is Fife Properties Incorporated. The 2025 roll year based on the reference date of April 1st, 2023 has an assessed value of $3,724,000. Okay, as indicated, yes, there is another issue of non-compliance on this property. As you can see on page 1 at the bottom. If we turn to page 2, my brief, we'll just see the request for information here. So the last mailer received for this property was in 2020. Now if we turn to page 16 of my brief, here's the income and expense mailer, or the certified mailer that we had sent out. You can see here they've sent out June 9th, 2023. The tracking number at the top there. Pages 17, 18, and 19 are the blank mailer. Page 20 of my brief here, you can see this is the delivery notice and the signature saying available, and when it was delivered on June 12th. And then if we turn to page 21 of my brief here, you can see the actual signature here on file here that was signed on the 12th, and you can see the name and signature at the bottom here. So so that being said, I believe that is our reasoning for the non-compliance.
Okay, questions on non-compliance, Mr. Navarro?
Yeah, the only question that I would have for the assessor is that I noticed in the previous case that where we agreed, he had included the application, and that was the original application that was done in June of 2024. Is he able to confirm whether that was the same address on the application?
I can double check that. The address that we have, like the address like for the application where it was sent to?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the address, the mailing address on the application is, I believe, different. It says here Suite 1, 1100, 747 4th Street, Victoria, BC, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this one is Fife Properties, Inc., 1266 Fife Street.
Correct. One thing I would like to note, though, is we have just the one mailing address on file for the Fife, and all the assessment notices, tax bills all go to this address. So for the appeal to be filed, that's where it went to. So obviously they received the tax bill to file the appeal. So.
Okay. No further questions, Mr. Chair.
Well, okay. Ms. Duncan, any questions on the non-cooperation?
So which address did the tax bill go to? Was it the BC one or the Fife one?
It is the Fife Properties Incorporated.
Thank you. No other questions.
Okay, Ms. Knight?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, and I have no questions. So, Mr. Navarro, on the non-compliance.
Actually, we are in agreement, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So then again, we need to take a brief recess to deliberate on the non-compliance. Okay, welcome back. The board will grant the non-cooperation on this property. So, Ms. Navarro, you can begin then.
Mr. Chair, I actually just received an email from the owner, and unfortunately it's created a bit of an issue because they're contesting whether this is the correct address. But so because of that, I'm going to actually ask for the board's permission to actually have this confirmed. And from our perspective, that will keep the issues alive. This will probably have to be appealed to the municipal board. So if that is okay with the board, I'd ask that this one be confirmed.
All right. I can see why you do that if there's some doubt.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Mr. Harley, any questions on the on that? You're muted there.
Apologies. No, I have no questions or anything on that. So.
Okay. Any questions from the panel on the request for confirmation?
No,
Okay. Thank you. Then we will move on to our next property there, which is again in the same neighborhood, 43 Bunting.
Yeah. Okay. I start anytime or sorry? Or,
Yeah, you can
okay.
start. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Chairman. Okay, so the file number is 24-3467. The roll number is 14063670800. The address is 43 Bunting Street, and the owner is Power Reach Fertilizer Incorporated. 2025 roll year based on reference date of April 1st, 2023 has an assessed value of $2,572,000. If you look under page 1 of my brief, we'll see this is a industrial light manufacturing parcel use. It's a one-story building. The actual and effective year builds range from 1968 to 1993. We are using an overall effective year built at 1979. Wall heights range from 14 to 19 feet. The construction class is masonry bearing walls, and the zoning is manufacturing general, M2 manufacturing general. We have a land area of 53,905 square feet with a plan area of 23,328 square feet. This gives us a land to plan area of 2.31, and we have a total leasable area of 23,328 square feet. If we turn to page 2 of my brief, you'll see the request for income information has been received. And the last time you can see the property or the sale history, last time the property sold was in 2016, as you can see, and there are no subject leases in place we have on file. Okay, so turn to page 3 of my brief. So this is very close to the previous property in the same location, and on Bunting Street, which is the street over from Fife, so it's in that same English industrial area. Page 4 of my brief is just a aerial view photo just to show the subject. So you can see here is just the street over from the previous property. Page 5 of my brief, this is the parcel outline, as you can see here. Page 6 of my brief, you'll see a parcel outline more zoomed in on the subject where it's situated, the building on the parcel of land. Page 7 is just a photo from the subject facing Bunting Street, as you can see here. And you see the different wall heights, obviously, and the different as the buildings were built in different ages. Page 8 is just a further photo from a different angle. Page 9 of my brief, this is just a rear view photo of the subject, as you can see. And page 10 is just another photo from the opposite side of the building at the top. Page 10 at the bottom is the street view photo of the subject from the west side. And then page 11 is just another street view photo from the subject from the east side. As you can see, the two buildings or the building in its entirety on the picture here. Okay, so turning to page 12 of my brief, we look at the classification. We're classifying this as manufacturing warehouse light. You can see here we have the two premises. We have the one at 18,048 square feet. We're applying a model rent of $6.07 a square foot. For the smaller portioning, we have 5,280 square feet at $7.75 a square foot. This gives us a total potential rent of $150,471 and a total leasable area of $23,328. And we're using an overall blended rent of $6.45 a square foot. If we look below in the valuation, we'll see here again the potential rent. We're allowing a 3.5% for vacancy, which then gives us an effective gross income of $145,205, allowing 3% for expenses, as well as $4 a square foot shortfall, which gives us a net income of $137,583. And then lastly, we're applying a capitalization rate of 5.35%, which then gives us an estimated value of $2,572,000. Okay, we turn to page 13 of my brief. We'll see my rent comparables here. So you can see some of the locations here. These are all in the same subject margin: Church, Bunting, Burroughs, Sherwin, and such. Lease start dates range from June 2018 to Jan 2023. Lease terms range from 1 to 10 years. Areas range from 5,500 to 42,480 square feet. Wall heights range from 16 to 26 feet. Effective bills range from 1964 to 1978, and the rents in place range from $6.24 to $13.92. So those are the comparables I believe would support our rent. Turning to page 14 of my brief, just the cap rate information here under industrial. As I indicated, we're using a cap rate of 5.35%. So this is on the low end of the city's 28th percentile. So I'm mindful that the cap rate is a little bit lower based on the age, wall height, and size of the building. So I don't dispute maybe the cap rate. You could see it as a little low with some of these factors. So I'm mindful of that, but so it does still fall within the range of the city's percentage on the low end, but I'm mindful of its outside the range and some of the outside sources. Page 15 of my brief is just municipal assessment accuracy information. Page 16 is the mailer, as you can see here. It is owner occupied, so there are no leases in place, but these are just the expenses, and they're compliant with providing us, so we're showing that. Turn to page 18 of my brief. This is just a site plan of the subject. So you can see here at the top is Bunting Street in the building here. So I apologize, it's a little grainy, but a little bit older, but it's pretty standard, shape here, as you can see here, like a U shape. And then page 19 of my brief, you can just kind of see here another floor plan we have on file, just to show the different spaces. So it's storage. They have some office space in the very, left-hand corner, right-hand corner. That's predominantly storage here. And then page 20 of my brief here, this is the building sections of the building, as you can see the different ages. So we have 1968, 88, 93, and you can see the different areas of those structures when they were built. So that being said, that concludes the presentation, and I'm open for questions. Thank you.
Okay, questions, Mr. Navarro?
Mr. Chair, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Knight, any questions?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Ms. Duncan?
No questions that haven't already been asked. Thanks.
Okay, Mr. Navarro, your presentation then.
Okay. This is 43 Bunting Street, Power Ridge Corporation. If you could please turn to page 6 and 7, you can see some pictures and the general location on page 6. On page 8, you can see these different stages of construction. So we have the first coming in 1968, then 1988, and then again in 1993. On page 12, you can see the rent that we've applied, $7.50. Don't believe that's actually in dispute. And for that matter, the rest of the parameters on the income side as well. So on page 19, if you turn to that, we can look at the summary. 174,960 is the income that we've applied to this property. $3.50 vacancy. Expense allowance of $8,331. We have a net operating income of $160,505, and we've applied a capitalization rate of 7 to this manufacturing warehouse. The end value is $2,292,934 or $2,923,000. Again, it really just it comes down to a cap rate issue. I am open for questions.
Okay, questions, Mr. Harleen?
You know what? I think I'm good. Actually, I have no questions. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Duncan, questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Ms. Knight?
No, sir.
Okay, I have no questions either. It's 9:47. Let's take a break till 10 o'clock, and then we'll come back and do our final 3 properties. This is such a delight over the hearing I had yesterday.
Oh, yeah. I'm good to hear that.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll come back at 10 o'clock.
Yep.
Sorry, welcome back. Our next property is 154 Paramount Road, and again, a non-co-op is requested. So, Mr. Harling, yep.
Sorry, I was just going to interrupt, Mr. Chair. Apologize. There was some further information discovered on this property for the non-compliance issue, and we actually no longer going to be seeking it. So
You're no longer seeking it? Okay.
no.
All right, good.
So I'll just start with the presentation.
Okay, with your presentation and valuation then, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, so the file number is 24-2216. The roll number is 14062879100. The address is 154 Paramount Road, and the owner is Treadstone Properties Incorporated. The 2025 roll year, based on the reference date of April 1st, 2023, has an assessed value of $3,826,000. Below my page 1 of my brief, we'll see this is parcel uses in industrial light manufacturing. It's 1-story building. The actual year built range from 1977 to 1994, and we have an overall effective year built of 1980. The wall heights range from 10 to 23 feet. The construction class is masonry bearing walls, and it is zoned for M2 manufacturing general. We have a total land area of 77,740 square feet. with a plan area of 34,098 square feet, which gives us a land plan area of 2.28. And we have total leasable area of 34,098. Okay, turn to page 2 of my brief. I've already spoken to the request for income, which has already been resolved. And then the last time the property sold was in 2006, as you can see, and we have no leases in place. Okay, so page 3 of my brief here, you can see the subject location here. So as indicated, it's located on Paramount Road, and you can see where it's situated, just adjacent to Key Wayton Street. Again, very similar in the Inkster industrial area. Page 4 of my brief, you'll see a picture of the photo in aerial view, and a little red dot to show where it's situated. Page 5 of my brief, this is just a parcel lot view of the subject. As you can see here, where it's situated, just on edge of Paramount and Key Wayton Street. Page 6 of my brief, this is just an aerial view photo again of the parcel outline closer up. Turn to page 7 of my brief. This is just the aerial view photo of the subject for facing Paramount Road. This is the front of the building. As you can see here, there's the lower wall height and the larger, so this would be the office space, and then there's storage in the back. Page 8 is just a photo from facing Key Wayton Street. So the side here, they have some loading. Page 9 would be the actual rear of the subject property, as you can see. Page 10 is just a further photo from the west side of the building. Page 10 at the bottom here is just a street view photo on Paramount facing the front of the building on one side. And then page 11 is just also facing on Paramount from the front of the building here. Page 12 is just some further photos from the subject on facing Key Wayton Street at the side of the building on the east side. And then page 13 is the final photo showing the loading bay doors here on the east side of the building on facing Key Wayton Street. Okay, so we turn to page 14 in my brief. You'll see, as we indicated, this is a manufacturing warehouse light. We have the two areas at 30,000 square feet and 4,098 for a total area of 34,098. We have a model rate of 654 for the 30,000 square feet and a model rate of 823 for the 4,000 square feet, which gives us a potential rent of $229,927. And we are using an overall blended rent of $6.74 a square foot. If we look below under the income valuation, you can see we're applying a vacancy of 3.5%, which then gives us an effective gross income of $221,880, around 3% for expenses, well, $4 a square foot for shortfall, which then gives us a net operating income of $210,450. And then lastly, we're applying a capitalization rate of 5.5%, which then gives us the estimated value of $3,826,000. Turn to page 15 of my brief, some of my rent comparables. These would be very similar to some of the previous properties we spoke to. So predominantly in the same location, Church, Burroughs, Fife, Spruce, so in this Inkster location. They range from January 2018 to April 2022, 1 to 10 year leases, 5,500 to 47,473 square feet. Wall heights 16 to 26 feet. Year builds from 1965 to 1978. And the rents in place range from $6.24 to $13.92. So I believe the rents would support the model rate. Page 16 brief, just under the industrial section for cap rates. So again, the cap rate does fall within the range of the city's 28th percentile. But I'm, looking at some of the outside sources, I'm mindful it does fall outside the range of some of the outside sources. Page 17 my brief, just some municipal assessment act reserve information. And then pages 18 through 23, those are non-compliance issues we're not seeking anymore. If we turn to page 24 of my brief, this is just an old floor plan we have on file or site plans. You can see here, as I indicated, this is the office space in the front, and then there's warehouse space in the back. So this would be facing Paramount Road, and then the side is Key Wayton. And then on page 25, my brief, you'll just see the building section. Says I indicated it was built in multiple 1977 and 1994, and just the different areas and wall heights for those particular sections when they were built. That being said, that concludes the presentation, and I'm open for questions. Thank you.
All right. Questions, Mr. Navarro?
No, Mr. Chair, I have no questions.
Okay, Ms. Duncan?
The cap rate has me a little bit perplexed, so it's almost as good as probably closer to a newer build, but it's a 1980, so it's over 45 years old. Is there any other features in it that would make it stand out from your opinion?
You know what? Unfortunately, like all the properties in the stock, unfortunately, I wasn't able to inspect, so I can't speak to the exact condition of it. So I guess I can't give you an exact answer. Unfortunately, I apologize. So yeah, so due to the fact that I don't know the condition of the interior.
Great. Okay, thank you. No other questions.
Ms. Knight?
My question was asked and answered.
Okay, just looking at the overheads here, it would seem that for the trucks to get into the site, they're going to have to back into the loading docks off Keewatin. Would that be correct to say?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, there's obviously an access point of Paramount, but you're right. I mean, I believe that probably more for parking for the, employees, but you're right. They would have to probably either back right in or somehow maybe drive in and move over back in. But you're right. Yes, that would be probably the predominantly way to get in there. Yeah. So,
Okay, so that affects the utility of the site then?
I guess there could be some, argument for that potentially. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Navarro, then your presentation.
Okay, we are looking at 154 Paramount Road, and you can see on page 2 our summary. On page 6 and 7, we have some pictures. On page 8, the description, and you can see that this was essentially built in 2 stages, one originally in 1977, and then another section in 1994. On page 12, you can see our market comparisons, and we've used a blended rent of $6.56 per square foot, $223,686 as the total rent. Not significantly different than the assessors. I will ask you to turn to page 19, where you can see our total rent is $223,686, $3.50 vacancy percent, allowance of $11,249, and a net operating income of $204,608. Capitalization rate of 7%, giving us a value of $2,922,965 or $2,923,000. I think with some of the previous properties that we've had some consistency in our application of the cap rate. And this does essentially boil down to a cap rate issue. In the appendix, we have some of the same information that the assessor has included, including the income and expenses that were submitted. I'm open for questions.
Okay, questions, Mr. Harlan.
You know what? I believe at this time I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Knight,
No, sir.
Ms. Duncan.
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, and I have no questions. All right. We come to 1525 Aaron Street. And again, there's a non-co-op requested. So if you can lead us through that,
Sure. I can,
Mr.
start with that.
Harlan.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, so the file number is 24-3202. The roll number is 13011566100. The address is 1525 Aaron Street, and the owner is Canadian Bread Company Limited. The 2025 roll year based on the reference date of April 1st, 2023 has an assessed value of $4,017,000. So as indicated on the bottom of page 1, there is a request for non-compliance. Let's return to page 2 of my brief here. We see that we did not receive the 22 mailer. We had not received it. If we turn to page 18 of my brief here, so this would be the certified mailer that was sent out with tracking number on June 9th, 2023. And you can see the address we're sending it to is Canada Bread Company Limited, 2 International Boulevard, Epcot, Ontario. Page 19 through 21 is the blank mailer. Page 22 of my brief here, you can see here this is the delivery notice indicating it was delivered. on June 14th. Page 23, my brief here. This is the signature on file we have, the tracking number indicating it was signed for on the 14th here. And one thing I'll just note too is I have also included on page 25, my brief, the application form with the mailing address does indicate that it was the correct mailing address and where it was sent, which is the same we have in file. That being said, that concludes my presentation on the non-compliance. Thank you.
Okay, questions, Mr. Navarro, on the non-compliance?
I have no questions, Mr. Chair.
All right, Ms. Duncan,
No questions, thank you.
Ms. Knight.
No, sir.
Okay, Mr. Navarro, then on the non-compliance.
We're not contesting it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so I guess we'll need to again take a short break while we reach a decision on a non-compliance. Okay, welcome back. The board has deliberated and we will grant the non-cooperation. So Mr. Navarro, you can begin with your presentation.
Okay, Mr. Chair, this is 1525 Aaron Street. The realty roll number is 13011566100, and the file number is 243202. On page 2, you can see the assessment summary. The property owner is Canada Bread Company Limited. And we have a gross floor area of 58,308 square feet. Stories are 1 and 2. We have an effective age of 1964 on it. The site area is 82,764 square feet. Assessment year is 2025. Reference date is April 1, 2023. And we are requesting a 2025 assessment of $3,563,000. If you turn to page 6 and 7, you can see the general location and some pictures from the outside. On page 8, you can see a general property description. And if you turn to page 12, you can see the rent that we've applied. We've applied $5.75 to the 58,308 square feet. We have a market income of $335,271. If we turn to page 19, we can see the rest of the parameters. Again, the market rent that we have for this property is $335,271. We've applied a 4% vacancy to this. That's $13,411. Effective market income of $321,860. We have expense allowances of $18,985 and a net operating income of $302,875. The capitalization rate that we applied is 8.50. The income value is $3,563,236 or $3,563,000 rounded. In the appendix, we just have some property specific information that we've downloaded from the assessment website, and I am open for questions.
Okay, questions, Mr. Harling.
You know what? No, I have no questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Duncan,
No questions, thank you.
Ms. Knight.
No, sir.
Okay, Mr. Harling, your presentation.
Chairman. So as indicated, this file number is 243202. The roll numbers, oh, actually, I already went through all that. Yeah, so I'll just start with my property description. I apologize. So we've heard of the property here. So the property is a 1 to 2 story building. The actual and effective year builds range from 1952 to 1975. We are also using an effective year overall year built of 1964. We have wall heights ranging from 10 to 55 feet. And it is a construction class is masonry bearing walls. It is zoned for M2 manufacturing general. We have a land area of 80,738 square feet with a plan area of 54,564, which gives us a land to plan area of 1.48. And we have a total leasable area of 58,308 square feet. Okay, if we turn to page 2 of my brief, we'll see the request for information we already spoke to. And last time the property sold was in April 2nd, 2015. And we have no leases in place. Okay, so page 3 of my brief is just the subject location. This indicated this is on Aaron Street. Well, just adjacent to Aaron Street, or on Aaron Street, as you can see from the section where it's located just north of or south of Notre Dame Avenue. Page 4 of my brief is just a aerial view photo of the subject where it's located, and you can see where Aaron Street is. Page 5 of my brief is just a parcel outline view. So again, on Aaron Street and fronting also on Richard Avenue. Page 6 of my brief just is an aerial view of the subject property, as you can see here in its entirety here. So you can see the different wall heights built in different ages and such. Page 7 is another aerial view from a different angle of the subject. Continues on page 8, just a further photo just to show the building on Richard and Aaron. Page 9 is just a rear photo of the subject. And then page 10 is just another photo from the property facing Aaron Street. And the bottom of page 10 is just a street view photo facing the property on Richard Avenue. This is a further photo from the east side of the building on Richard Avenue. And then at the bottom here is just a further photo just to show the building. And then lastly on page 12 is just a photo of Aaron Street facing the building from the rear, and then the front of the building here on the bottom of page 12. And then just another further photo just on Aaron Street of the building on page 13. Okay, so if we turn to page 14 of my brief, you'll see the income workup. So we're classifying this as a manufacturing heavy. We have a total leasable area of 58,308 square feet, blank rent of $6.35 a square foot, which gives us a potential rent of $370,256. Allowing 4% for vacancy, which then gives us a gross income, effective gross income of $355,446, allowing 3% for 3% for expenses, $4 a square foot for shortfall, which then gives us a net operating income of $335,454. And then lastly, we're applying an 8.35% capitalization rate, which gives us the estimated value of $4,017,000. Turn to page 15 of my brief. See the rent comparables here. Some locations here. Border, Sherwin, Inkster, Notre Dame, Bannister, and Oak Point. So the lease start dates range from October 2017 to September 2022. Lease terms are 1 to 10 years. Areas range from 47,000 to 61,400 square feet. The wall heights range from 17 to 30 feet. Effective year bills range from 1961 to 1980. And the rents in place range from $6.25 to $8.27 a square foot. Okay, so if we turn to page 16 of my brief, just the capitalization rate information. I don't believe myself and Mr. Navarro are too far apart in our cap rates we've applied. We're applying an 8.3% cap rate, so we're going higher than the outside, than the 28th percentile we apply for properties, and it is higher than the outside sources. The factors that would derive a higher cap rate in this case would be, factors of the age of the building, built in different stages, location, access, as well as the lower land to plan ratio. So those would be factors that would derive the higher cap rate, and henceforth why we applied the higher cap rate on the property. So we're mindful of those factors henceforth. Page 17 is just active information. Pages 19 through 20. We've already discussed this, the compliance issue. And then lastly, on page 24, this is just a older floor plan our site plan we had on file just to show the building. So they indicate it's used for bakery as the name of the owner is. And then lastly, just page 25 is the application which I spoke to already. So that being said, that concludes our presentation. I'm open for questions. Thank you.
Okay, questions, Mr. Navarro.
Mr. Chair, I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Knight,
No, sir.
Ms. Duncan.
I know you mentioned some of the factors that would have given it a higher cap rate, but some of those same factors were consistent with some of the other properties, such as age and different building stages. So I'm just kind of wondering, I know it's model generated, but I'm not sure I still clearly understand why the model would have put a higher cap rate on this and lower cap rates on a number of those multiple other properties.
Well, I mean, some of those other properties we dealt with, this was a bit larger. This is about just a shy of 60,000 square feet. It does have a lower land to plan ratio. Like this one is 1.48, where some of the other ones were like, anywhere from 2.3 to 3. Also location, for industrial properties, and Inkster Industrial would be more of a desirable location. Aaron Street is a bit older area. Getting access to the building, Again, it is older, so, so the fact of, like I said, the age, wall height, location, access, those would be more factors that would, drive the higher cap rate, we believe. That's why we would put the higher cap rate on it.
And then my other question is specific to your rent. Which ones in there do you think would the top three of those that you would apply to this property?
Like I said, when you start getting into bigger properties, there's not as many, it's harder to find comparables. Like I said, I typically, when I have my comparables, apologies, I'm trying to get to my comparable page here.
Page 15.
Yeah, page 15 here, yeah. Like I said, I don't think I'm gonna, it's hard to say, like, picking an exact comparable. Like, obviously the closest ones would be probably Notre Dame would be the closest, in terms of location, I guess. It's a little bit older there. Some of these are obviously, like, on, St. James, there's actually a couple in Inkster here. So, I don't, I don't think I can say I picked three best, if you will. It's kind of like we look at a range of them, and there's going to be the variations depending on the size, wall height, age. So you can kind of maybe get an idea. Some of the older ones, the newer ones. So
yeah. I guess I'm just not seeing very many close comparables specific to all those different factors within this rent comparable chart.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm mindful of that. Obviously, as I indicated, like I said, there's, like, especially in the area, there's not a lot of larger rent comparables in there. So I did have to expand my search, if you bit will, I guess. So.
Okay, thank you. No other questions.
Okay, and I have no questions. Now, the next property on the agenda was 1525 Aaron Street. I understand this is going to be withdrawn. Miss
555 Logan.
Oh, sorry. 555 Logan. This is going to be withdrawn, Mr. Navarro, with a 15-1 agreement.
Yeah, I think
That's
it's
correct.
Yeah, I think it's good now. We just received it, so.
Okay. All right. So then we've heard all the properties on today's agenda then, and this hearing is now adjourned. And thank you, gentlemen, for your very concise and to the point briefs today.
Perfect.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks, you
Thank
too.
you.
Everybody. Thank you.